In the shadowed corners of history, there are names that carried nations, yet few ever knew them. One of those names is Haym Salomon, a man whose pen and pocket did more for American independence than many muskets ever could. Born in Poland in 1740, Haym Salomon was a Jewish immigrant who arrived in New York with little more than ambition and a belief in freedom. The New World, to him, was not just a refuge, it was a grand experiment. But when he arrived, that experiment was about to ignite. By 1776, the American colonies were at war with the mightiest empire on earth. Armies needed food, powder, and pay, but there was no central treasury, no real source of credit. The revolution was fueled on courage and credit. And that's where Haym Salomon stepped in. A polyglot and financial broker, Salomon spoke several European languages fluently. In a world of trade and negotiation, that was his weapon. When the revolution began, he sided with the Patriots, offering his skills, and later, his life, to the cause. But in 1778, the British occupied New York. Salomon was arrested, accused of being a spy. They imprisoned him in a dank cell, planning to send him to the gallows. Yet somehow, Salomon managed to earn the trust of a British officer. He was released, and immediately returned to his underground work, this time helping American prisoners of war escape British control. When he was caught a second time, he narrowly avoided execution once again, this time fleeing to Philadelphia, then the beating heart of the Revolution. In Philadelphia, Haym Salomon became the broker of liberty. The new Continental Congress was broke. Soldiers went unpaid. Supplies ran out. Desperation hung heavy over George Washington's army. Salomon began raising funds from the city's merchants and sympathetic financiers. He brokered foreign loans from France and the Netherlands, turning promises into pay for the men who would hold the line at Valley Forge and beyond. When the Continental Army faltered, it was Salomon's quiet hand that kept it standing. Records show he personally loaned money to key figures of the Revolution, men like James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe. He financed delegations, covered congressional expenses, and even used his own limited wealth to keep the government afloat. In one of the darkest moments of the war, when Washington's troops were starving and morale was at its lowest, Haym Salomon is said to have raised funds in a single day to supply food and clothing to the front. He never asked for repayment. He never received it. By 1781, the revolution teetered between victory and ruin. The final campaign at Yorktown was in doubt. Washington needed funding for the siege that might end the war. The treasury was empty. Congress was desperate. And so they turned to Salomon. He raised the last funds necessary, borrowing against his own credit, convincing lenders, and writing promissory notes backed by nothing but his word. Those funds fed the army that marched to Yorktown. And there, the revolution found its victory. When Cornwallis surrendered, America became free. And Haym Salomon faded quietly into history.